Money is generally a touchy subject, and debt is typically uncomfortable to talk about. The average American is several thousands of dollars in credit card debt, and a lot of people here also have very high car payments. I recently read that the average car payment in America is $561 over a term of 70 months. $561 for nearly 6 years for a car. I was lucky enough to never slip too far into credit card debt, but I did get myself locked into a car payment a couple of years ago. And after that was paid off, I remember thinking to myself, I would like to avoid debt as much as possible. Now, avoiding taking on debt completely isn't really realistic if you ever plan on buying a home or starting a business. While I haven't done some of those things yet, I have been able to apply some rules into my life over the years that have helped me get out of debt and stay out of it. Just like I do in all my videos about finance, I need to make it abundantly clear that I am no expert. And I only ever share the things that I do, hoping you get some inspiration or your own ideas from it. And regardless of the amount of debt you have or the type of debt like credit card or car, most things I'm going to talk about today should be applicable to most situations. This is how I became debt-free. But first, if you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. Here we talk about minimalism, frugal living, tech, and things of that nature. So if that sounds good to you and you end up liking the video, be sure to like and please tray flip over the subscribe button. Let's get started. The first thing here is to stay organized. In my experience, staying organized when it comes to dealing with money is absolutely the most important step. Even if that just means making a list of things I have to pay, a list of all my debts, and laying it out all in a calendar, I think just having that visualization of my debt really helped me begin making a plan. And arguably even more important, this was the best way for me to keep track of my progress. It helped me see if the methods I'm about to talk about today were helping me stay on track toward my financial goals. And when I'm seeing that progress be made, it just gives me a little bit more motivation to continue. Automate payments. In the past, I've talked about some of the benefits of automating payments and why I do it. Automatically setting up bills to be paid and having that money withdrawn is really nice because it's just one less thing I have to think about. And speaking from my own experience, I can say that some companies even offer a small discount by setting up autopay. I know that with AT&T, I got $10 off my monthly phone bill. And aside from setting up automatic payments toward my bills or responsibilities, I also mean automating payments into my savings or investments, and being as committed and disciplined with those as I am with my bills. And after a while, automating payments just became part of my routine and just a habit that really helped the growth of my saving and shrink my careless spending. Avoid taking on more debt. I think the biggest mistake that I made when trying to get out of debt was accidentally or purposefully taking more on. Very obvious, I know. But this required me to have some behavioral changes. I actually began to just leave my credit cards at home when leaving the house until that balance was paid off, so I wasn't tempted to or able to use it. Swiping my credit card when I was in the middle of trying to pay that balance off always seemed to be just like a huge setback and killed my motivation to continue to make progress. When I decided to only carry my debit card and cash with me, I found myself to be just much more careful with it. I even removed those credit cards from my Apple Wallet to stay just a little bit more committed. I think the most important takeaway here is that some physical steps are needed as well as behavioral changes. Leaving the cards behind, carrying physical cash, things like that. And having my debt completely paid off was always a much better feeling than whatever I would have bought with those credit cards. The Snowball Method. The Snowball Method might be one of the most common ways to pay off debt, and for a fairly good reason. I personally feel like it makes the most sense for me. The Snowball Method consists of paying the minimum payment toward all debts and paying the minimum plus a little bit of extra toward the debt with the lowest balance. And when I was in a bit of credit card debt spread across several credit cards, this is exactly what I did. I would pay the smallest balanced credit card first, and then move on to the next credit card with the next smallest balance. Now, I don't know if this is actually the most efficient way to save as much as possible and avoid paying as much interest as possible, because obviously all credit cards have different interest rates, all really high though. But sometimes just getting that first one out of the way and having one less credit card to pay was just the huge motivation that I needed to proceed, the Avalanche Method. Now, the Avalanche Method is actually the opposite of the Snowball Method, but with overall the same goal. It consists of listing debts in order from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. Then make the minimum payments toward all of the debts except the one with the highest interest rate, attacking that one first. Once the debt with the highest interest rate is paid off, it means moving on to the one with the next highest interest rate, rinse and repeat. The idea here is that by paying off the debt with the highest interest rate and then proceeding from there, less interest would be paid over time. Now, I feel like this one is very subjective because the balance of all these debts could be different per card or per loan. So take it with a grain of salt. Typically, credit cards have a crazy high interest rate, like 24 to 25%, while car loans are typically in like the 5 to 6% range. So this method would likely mean attacking credit cards first. When it comes to mathematically making the most sense, the Avalanche Method might be the way to go, but it also means you might not see the most progress immediately. Increase income. The obvious point that needs to be made is increasing income, but I don't necessarily mean going out and looking for another job. Something I did a while ago when I was aggressively trying to pay off my car loan was to sell my unwanted and unused items on OfferUp, and I was able to put a good dent in that loan. And increasing income doesn't always mean another paycheck, but sometimes it just means living a little bit more frugally and being a little bit more active in areas where expenses can be cut back. I also love the idea of monetizing a hobby. If you're a creative person, consider selling your services. If you speak multiple languages, there's like unlimited opportunities out there to translate or teach, and these are just a few examples. There's a book out there called The Unfair Advantage that I'll talk about more deeply in the future, but in that book, something that the author talks about is using a skill that is at least fairly unique to you and using it to your advantage. And for the sake of this conversation, using your unfair advantage to somehow increase your income. And speaking of that book, when I finish the next couple of books that I'm reading, I'll definitely be making a full video going over the ones that I recommend, so stay tuned for that. Overall, paying off debt can take a lot of time, but it really could be one of the most liberating things that you do for yourself. Take baby steps and apply some of these few simple rules if they make sense for you. Anyways, as always, I appreciate the time you spent here and I appreciate you watching. If you did like this video and you like this type of content, be sure to like and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.